Today is 29th December, the second day of this virtual retreat organized from Canberra. Now we start the Q&A session. Today, Bhante, we have 7 questions altogether, 5 related to practice and 2 about the Dhamma talk.
Yeah.
So may I request your permission to present all these questions?
Okay, yes.
Question number 1. Venerable Bhante, I don't frequently do walking meditation. So could you kindly advise me on areas to improve and clarify some indications, markers that we are progressing in this practice? Walking meditation experience on 28th December. First 15 minutes. As I walked slowly on the partially wet grass, noting left and right as I walked, I could feel the sharp edges of the grass from the heel to toe of my feet. On some wet patches of the grass, I could feel the water on my feet. Against the breeze, I felt like a cooling sensation on the feet and throughout my body. I continued noting my steps left and right for the next several minutes. I had thoughts coming in when I observed beautiful bright roses in the garden, but I immediately caught them as thoughts and continued to focus on my steps, looking only at the grass, noting left and right in my mind. I felt calm and relaxed. Next 15 minutes. As I continued, I partially lost focus and noted left as I took the right step and right as I took the left step. After 2-3 times of this happening, I decided to change my mental noting from saying left and right to one step and next step, one step and next step and so on. As I did this, I could feel I had sharper focus on the steps. Within brackets, as I didn't feel the pressure to get the mental noting correct. I felt the same sensations of the sharpness of the grass and the cooling sensation on my feet as before. After few laps of walking and doing mental noting, this way I began to feel a bit drowsy. I still could focus on the steps and all the sensations as before, but the drowsiness also prevailed. Thero Saranai. May the blessings of the Triple Gem always be with you, and may you attain Nibbana. That's the end of the report.
Yeah, actually walking meditation is one of the important thing because it helps us to improve mindfulness and basically to improve mindfulness more than concentration. If you only practice sitting meditation, it is more prone to concentration practice, more biased towards the concentration. But if you consider walking practice, it has more prominence to mindfulness. So therefore, it is a must to practice mindfulness if you are healthy. And even if you are not healthy, if possible, you can do mindful walking, because Buddha says appabado hoti. As one of the benefit of walking meditation, Buddha says you become more healthier if you are practicing mindful walking. Now, as you have done, you are able to observe various ordinary experiences while you are walking, and it's a good sign that your attention has come to the body. Basically, while body is walking, we never keep our attention on walking. Either we look here and there, either we think something else. So when the body is walking. But now we are trying to keep our attention on walking body. So there, as you said, you can properly aim your attention, properly aim your mind when your left foot touching the ground, when your right foot touching the ground. So this is one of the key feature of the walking meditation, because it helps us to properly aim our mind. Because that actually helps us to build some sort of a control, some sort of a command over the mind. Otherwise, simply mind takes us for a ride. But now when left foot is touching the ground, we have to properly aim our attention there. When right foot is touching the ground, we have to properly aim our attention there. And we need to do it at the exact time. It is not before the touching, it is not after the touching, but we have to be properly synchronize it so that the touching sensation and the receiving of the mind happens together. So likewise, there are very interesting phenomena are there. So when you do this type of walking meditation, more and more your attention become well focused, and again you are able to concentrate your mind as well, because at the beginning we are paying more attention to our souls, and it's a limited or small area that we are now trying to focus. So as a result, our attention get collected on that small area. So these kind of many benefits are there in walking meditation. And again, while walking, we have to maintain our eyes open, but we are not focusing through eyes, by the way. Eyes are simply doing sort of a guidance task, and we are keeping our attention on the touching sensation. Now, as you continue, then your mind get further concentrated, further mindful, and that mindfulness and that concentration can be brought to sitting session. So therefore, please continue your practice and involve more with walking meditation, and you yourself will understand the benefit. Now I am simply encouraging you, but as you continue your practice, you are able to understand many benefits of walking meditation. Yeah, with that I like to go to the next section.
Question number 2. When I started mindful walking, I noticed that I was not quite awake. I was angry with myself because I missed the basic instructions. Then I thought, it's the past. I can't change it now, and concentrated on walking. I was walking from the living room, passing the corridor, and reached the bathroom. I noticed the different materials used for the different floors. The floor in the living room was cold. In the corridor, it was different type of coldness. The carpet was rough. The floor in the bathroom was warm because it is heated. The carpet in the bathroom was soft. I noticed that I sometimes was aware of the feet I was placing on the ground, but said right instead of left, and the other way around. I noticed it twice. I was curious to see whether the snow has melted. I looked out of the window to check that. After a while, I noticed that I controlled my walking instead of observing. After I started observing that I was walking, I was more relaxed than earlier. I realized that I placed my right foot with more weight than the left. I noticed a pain in my left ankle. I had my hands folded at the back and felt a pain at my right wrist. Then I changed it and folded them in front of me. That was easier. I felt that I was in kind of a flow towards the end of the session. After mindful walking, I joined the mindful sitting session. I needed less time to get into the mode of the observer. I heard the rain outside. I heard a noise from my jaw. Then I noticed a constant noise in my ears which didn't come from outside. First, it was disturbing for me, but later I was able to observe my breath and my seated position while being aware of the sound in my ears. That's the end of the report, Manthur.
Yeah, so basically this report indicates that your attention is now coming to very ordinary experiences. As I said before, typically we are not paying our attention to these ordinary experiences, and we simply neglect them, and we are taking our attention to more complicated, more obsessive type of things. Now we are able to clear the mind, we are able to sort of lighten the mind and able to recognize these very ordinary experiences, how our weight transfer from one leg to the other leg, and how leg is moving, and how it is touching, how it is sort of recognizing various sensations at the floor. So likewise, and say for example again, whether the heel touching the ground first, or whether the say toes touching the ground. So likewise, there are many ordinary experiences related to this walking meditation, and more you are able to recognize that, appreciate that, that indicates your mind is now fairly calmed. Your mind is not agitated, your mind is not sort of daydreaming, rather able to recognize these ordinary experiences. They utterly happen in the present moment. So none of these experiences are possible when your mind is distracted, because these are really happens in the present moment, because the body is walking. So while body is walking, we have to be quite vigilant, mindful, in order to recognize this information. So this sometimes we call as sati sampajanya, or clear comprehension. So once our mindfulness is well established, we need to look forward for these experiences, look detail about these experiences, what we call as clearly knowing. So this clearly knowing is one of the key features then we have to implement. So you are fairly recognizing that details, understanding those details, and you need to further sharpen that, you need to further improve that, so that even more subtle details are available. You got to do sort of thin slicing of time, so that you are able to recognize more and more details. It's very much like you are improving the resolution, so that even tiny details are able to recognize. So you may continue your practice and try to recognize more and more information, which may not be prominent at the beginning, but as your mindfulness sharpen, you are able to recognize that. Yeah, we can move to the other question.
Thank you, Bhante. So the next question is written in Sinhala. I'll read it as it is. Garutra Swamin Wahanse. Iye dinaye paryankayedi දකුණු දණහිසේ වේදනාව දෙස බලා සිටිමි. මෙය ඇති වූයේ අවසන් විනාඩි 15දී පමණි. ඒ දෙස හොඳින් බලා සිටියෙමි. වේදනාව කලින් කී පරිදි නාභිගත වීම සහ විසිරී යාම දුටුවෙමි. වේදනාව දෙස බලා සිටියත් වේදනාව නතර වූයේ නැත. වේදනාව ඊට වැඩි වූ නිසා ඇස් ඇර කකුල් කෙලින් කළෙමි. මා දැනගත්තා පරයන්කයට වාඩි වන විට පළමුව නමන කකුලේ දණහිසේ වේදනාව වැඩි වෙන බව. සමාධිය යනු කුමක්ද? සමාධිය හඳුනාගන්නේ කෙසේද? වේදනාව තිබියදී සමාධිය ලැබිය හැකිද? භාවනාව ඉදිරියට ගෙන යාමට සමාධිය අවශ්‍යද? සක්මන් භාවනාව ගැන තියෙනවා ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ. ඒක කියන්න දෙනවා.
අපි චුට්ටක් මේක කතා කරලා ඉමු. මේකෙදී ඇත්තටම දැම්ම සමාධිය ගැන හිතන්න එපා. සමාධිය කියන්නේ මේ සතිය දියුණු වීම නිසා අපිට ලැබෙන ප්‍රතිඵලයක්. ඒ නිසා දැනට අපේ වගකීම වෙන්නේ පුළුවන් තරම් සතිය දියුණු කර ගැනීම. ඒ නිසා මේ කරනගෙන යන භාවනාවේදී පුළුවන් තරම් ඒ සතිය ගැන අවධානය යොමු කරන්න. වැඩි වැඩියෙන් කොහොමද මේ කරගෙන යන කටයුත්තේ අවධානය පවත්වන්න. නිකන් ඉලක්කයක් තියාගන්න. හිතන්න දැන් මේ ඉඳගෙන ඉන්නවා, හුස්ම රැලි කීපයක් මට දැනගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකෙන් මට බහුතරයක් අපි තුමු දැනට මග හැරෙනවා. මොකද හිත අතීතයට අනාගතයට දුවනවා. මගේ යුතුයකම වෙන්නේ, මගේ වගකීම වෙන්නේ මග හරව ගන්න නැතිව වැඩි වැඩියෙන් හුස්ම රැලි ගණනාවක් මගේ අවධානය ලක් කර ගැනීම. මුලින්ම කරන්න තියෙන ඒක. ඉතින් බුදුහාඳුරෝ ඒකයි කියන්නේ සතෝ වාස සති සතෝ පස්ස සති. සතිමත්ව හුස්ම ගන්නවා, සතිමත්ව හුස්ම හෙලනවා. එතනින් තමයි අපිට පටන් ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. අපිට දැම්ම බෑ මේක දිගද කොටද උණුසුම්ද සිසිල්ද මේවා තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ අපිට දැම්ම. සමාධියක් කොහොමත්ම නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා අපි පියවරෙන් පියවර තමයි මේ ගමන යන්න තියෙන්නේ. අපි කලබල වුණා කියලා මේක කරන්න බෑ. කිසි කලබලයක් නැතුව බොහොම සංසිඳීමෙන් යුක්තව බොහොම බරපතල විදිහට මේ වැඩේ ගන්නෙ නැතුව හිතන්න මේ තමන් මේ මොහොතේදී පොඩ්ඩක් හුස්ම ගැන අවධානය යොමු කරනවා එච්චරයි. ඊළඟට ආයිත් ආස්වාසය ගැන අවධානය යොමු කරනවා. ප්‍රස්වාසය ගැන අවධානය යොමු කරනවා. හිත පිට යනවා නම් ඒක වළක්ව ගන්න. ආස්වාසයක් අත්දකින්නකොට ආස්වාසයක් කියලා මෙනෙහි කරනවා. ප්‍රස්වාසයක් අත්දකින්නකොට ප්‍රස්වාසයක් කියලා මෙනෙහි කරනවා. අන්න ඒ වගේ පුළුවන් තරම් භාවනාව සරල කරගන්න. භාවනාව සංසිඳීමෙන් කරගෙන යන්න. ලොකු බරපතල දේවල් ගැන හිතන්න යන්න එපා. ලොකු ප්‍රාර්ථනා ඉලක්ක තියාගන්න යන්න එපා. මේ මොහොතේ හරිම සතුටින් සමාදානයෙන් මේ කටයුත්ත යෙදෙන්න. මොකද අපිට මේ ලැබිච්ච අවස්ථාවත් ලොකු දෙයක්නේ. අනිත් අය විවිධාකාර කටයුතු වල නිරත වෙද්දී වික්ෂිප්තව කටයුතු කරද්දී අපිට යන්තම් පුංචි අවස්ථාවක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා සංසිඳීමෙන් යුක්තව මේ හුස්ම රැල්ල දිහා බලන්න. ඉතින් මේක ලොකු ගමනක ආරම්භයක්. ඒ නිසා ඒ ආරම්භය බොහොම සුවසේ ඒ වගේම සතුටින් කරගෙන යන්න. එතකොට ඕමනා ටික හිමීට සකස් වෙලා එනවා. පුහුණුව හරහා ඔය ටික ඔක්කොම ලැබෙනවා. ඒ නිසා දැනට අපේ යුතුයකම වෙන්නේ මගහරව ගන්න නැතුව වැඩි වාර ගණනක් හුස්ම රැල්ල අපේ සතියට හසු කර ගැනීමයි. හොඳයි.
ඒ ප්‍රශ්නෙම සක්මන් භාවනාව කොටස. පාදයේ පොළවේ පතිත වන ස්ථානය හොඳින් හඳුනාගත හැක. සක්මනේ මුලදී හිතවිලි පැමිණියත් වම දකුණ කියා යලි පාදයට හිත ගනි. සක්මනේ එක් දිශාවකට ගොස් ආපසු හැරෙන විට හිත යටිපතුල ගැටෙන ස්ථානයේ තබා ගනි. එය හිමිහිට සුදු වේ. ටික වේලාවක් සක්මන් කරන විට මට වැටහුණා වම් පාදයේ දණහිස ලොක් වෙන බවත් දකුණු පාදයේ දණහිස නැමෙන බවත්. එවිට තේරුණේ වම් පාදයේ බර වැඩිපුර ගන්නා බවත් දකුණු පාදය ඉක්මනින් ඉදිරියට තබන බවක් කිය. සක්මන ඊතා සෙමින් කළොත් දකුණු පසට ශරීරයේ වැටෙන බවත් අත්හදා බැලුවෙමි. ගුවන් යානා හඬ හා බල්ලෝ ගුරන හඬ නිතර ඇසී. එහෙත් ඒවා දිගේ හිත ගමන් නොකරයි. භාවනාව ඉදිරියට ගෙන යාමට උපදෙස් පතමි. ඔබ වහන්සේට නිදුක් නිරෝගී දීර්ඝායුෂ පතමි. ත්‍රිවන් සරණයි.
හොඳයි. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් ඔය විවිධාකාර සද්ද ඔස්සේ හිත යන්නේ නැහැ කියන්නේ හිත ටිකක් මෙල්ල වෙලා තියෙනවා. සක්මන අහු වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා සක්මන හරිම විචිත්‍රයි. අපේ ඒ විවිධාකාර බාධක මැද්දේ තමයි අපි වමනා තැනට අපේ අවධානය යොමු කරමින් සක්මන කරගෙන යන්නේ. ඒ නිසා ඒකෙත් හරි විචිත්‍රත්වයක් තියෙනවා. අර මම කලින් ප්‍රශ්නයකට උත්තර දුන්නා වගේ පාදයක් වම් පාදය අපි කියමු වම් පාදයේ පොළවේ වදිනකොට එතෙන්ට අපේ හිත ගානට ඉලක්ක කරන්න ඕනේ. ඊට දකුණු පාදයේ පොළවේ වදිනකොට එතෙන්ට ගානට හිත ඉලක්ක කරන්න ඕනේ. පෙරපසු නොවි. ඉක්මනට කළත් බෑ, පරක් වෙලා කළත් බෑ. හරියට මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපි එතන සූදානමින් ඉන්න ඕනේ. අන්න ඒ වගේ මෙතන තියෙනවා පුංචි ක්‍රියාකාරකමක්. ඒක සාර්ථක වීම මත තමයි අපේ හිත හොඳට සක්මනේ එකඟ වෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම අතීතයෙන් අනාගතයෙන් හිත මිදිලා, හිත සංසිඳෙලා, සැහැල්ලු වෙලා සක්මන තුල හොඳට සාර්ථක වෙන්නේ ඔය කාරණා ටික ටික මේ සම්පූර්ණ වෙලා එනකොට. නිසා සක්මන දිගට කරගෙන යන්න ලැබිලා තියෙන අත්දැකීම් හොඳයි. තව පුහුණු වෙන්නයි අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ. හොඳයි.
Next question. Vandami Bhante. I have been practicing mindfulness for a couple of years now. In sitting, the object is breath. Once the breath subsides, I watch the whole scenario of sounds, sensations in the body, and any other thoughts come and go. In walking, I can focus on the walking process and do a relaxed walk, observing the walking process, thoughts, and sensations in the body. In both the situations, sensations in the body, thoughts, and the primary object alternates. Sometimes the focus moves from one to the other seamlessly. Sometimes a thought arises that I am not focusing on the primary object, and then the focus moves. Either way, it is not strenuous. Like when you start meditation initially, the meditation itself becomes a burden. But that is not the case anymore. Also in daily life, I have come to realize that everything that gets thrown at me on the daily basis is to do with a cause and effect, with some part of karmic reasons involved. This includes good and bad things. For example, when something good happens at work, the boss praises me, I can observe how that feeling of happiness transforms into some physical feeling in the body, a tingling sensation, and that also translates into multiple other thoughts of joy. I have learned to observe these feelings and sensations, and then the inevitable thought that I am hearing good things or feeling this way at this moment because of causality. I should not get carried away with it and spoil this moment of complete purity. Within brackets, may Nikleshi Mohata. It will be the same in the case of a negative experience too. For example, if I feel angry or frustrated with someone or something, after all the feelings, I will get the thought that this is only due to causality and I should not get involved. The question is, because this is happening so frequently and I am able to do this activity, now I do not want to do any sitting or walking. My ego has grown into such a level that I think walking and sitting is child's play and that there is nothing I will gain by doing that. Please advise on what I need to do to overcome this. Much merits for your guidance with metta.
Yeah, actually I can partly agree with you. So basically walking and sitting we do in order to sort of activate all these faculties in a way. So our minds are fairly distracted before our practice, and once we do say walking session, our mind become fairly mindful and the mind become clearer. And similarly, once you do a sitting session, mind further becomes sharp mindfulness, and you can focus on a very minute detail. So your collectedness, concentration is well developed. So likewise, you are improving your faculties. Indicates that the mindfulness is improving, concentration is improving, and at the same time you are observing various phenomena, maybe bodily phenomena, various feelings. So that also leads to develop wisdom. So slowly this activity will move towards the observation of the mind. Then actually you are connecting this whole practice to a whole life. From the very moment that you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, you have to be vigilant about the mind. So you seems to have done that very beautifully, that when you are being praised, that you are observing how your mind is reacting, how it is behaving, and at the same time how body is making certain adjustments, and you are able to experience those feelings without being caught to some sort of a conceit. So typically what happens is, when we being praised, so we develop our ego and we become some kind of an individual, and we feel superior and others are inferior, and so we develop conceit. But if we are really wise, rather than developing conceit, we can observe how mind reacts when someone is praising, how mind reacts. So how conceit arises. So we need to actually recognize this conceit. This is one of the very sort of subtle defilement we all have, and we need to recognize how it is operating when someone praised. So how our conceit, our individuality popping up, our I making going to happen. So if we are able to recognize it without promoting it, without being a victim of it, so that is the only way to recognize it, that is the only way to overcome it. So the track or the trait of conceit is now being somewhat diluted, somewhat weakened, because we haven't promoted that trait. We haven't promoted or fertilized that habit. So this is the only way that Buddha say we can overcome various asavas, taints. Janato bhikkhave passato asavanam khayam vadami. Only for the person who can recognize, who can understand these various traits, various taints, then to him I say it is possible to overcome various asavas. Now, as you said, if your mind have this clarity, if you are able to properly recognize all these various conditions, all these various thoughts, emotions happening in the mind, so that is good. You don't need very deep concentration to do that. Actually, if you have deep concentration, that becomes a kind of a hindrance for this practice, because deep concentration actually inhibits the defilements. They actually covers the defilement. The deep concentration very much like appear like a boundary, appear like a huge wall, so that the defilements cannot come out. But on the other hand, when we have necessary amount of concentration, that means necessary amount of clarity of the mind. So concentration is merely facilitating the vipassana. So only for the amount to clarify the mind, so that you can clearly recognize various defilements, you can clearly recognize various states of the mind, various emotions of the mind arising in the mind. So if you have that capacity, then no need to do long sitting practice. But on the other hand, there are instances that you need to have kind of a unattached mind, unbounded mind, and unassociated mind. So that type of state has to be developed. And it is true that you are observing various phenomena, various thoughts popping up in the mind, and you are now able to overcome them without being a victim to them. Now you suppose you are able to have a free mind, have a fairly calm mind, peaceful mind. So that peaceful mind has to be developed, and that peaceful mind has to be appreciated, that has to be recognized. And that happens actually in the sitting as well as in the walking. Now we actually have to balance this. So we need to understand, are we practicing sitting meditation? While doing that, is my mind going to any kind of absorption, any kind of too deep concentration? If so, it might not be useful. If so, it may going to, and again you need to be very careful here. As a habitual tendency, mind go and lean onto something, mind go and grasp onto something, but it's a very subtle grasping. But on the other hand, if you are properly managed it, then you are able to maintain very pure, unattached, very relaxed mind even at sitting. That is more relaxing, that is more soothing. So if you are able to do that, so that is actually rejuvenating, and that further cleanse the mind, that further sort of silence the mind, and it improves the clarity of the mind. It actually helps us to calm down formations, calm down constructions, sankhara. So the calming down of sankhara, constructions, is one of the important factor. So therefore, I can't say that the sitting and walking completely not necessary at this level, but not necessary to the level that we were practicing in our beginning levels or even in the middle level. Depending on the situation, you can practice. Depending on the situation, you can take that. And especially in the walking session, now you are not doing kind of a walking meditation, paying attention to say movement and say various element characteristics. That is not necessary. While walking, you may be even now observing the mind, not various feelings or not various bodily phenomena. Rather, you can simply observe the mind in a very relaxed attitude, because since our mind is well relaxed, so there may be various thoughts coming up, various defilements even coming up, and if you have clarity of mind, you can recognize them, and more you recognize them, more and more the clarity may improve, more and more defilements become weaker. So likewise, you have to use these techniques more circumstantial level, not depending on the typical schedule type of way, rather depending on the benefit, you can use them. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. The next question. Dear Venerable Sir, I have been practicing based on your instruction for some time now. This question is based on my walking. I start with the noting left and right. After a few minutes, I start observing various sensations on the soles. I can distinguish these sensations from left and right foot. At this time, the knotting drops and the mind seems glued to the sensations such as the hardness, softness, and how the pressure is distributed, hot and cold nature of various parts of the soul, etc. I think at this point there are still thoughts which tell me where the sensations feel and how that feel is. If I get to this mode and continue for another 10 to 15 minutes, these thoughts drop off as well. I know the sensation of hardness when the foot touches ground, but I can only stay if it is left or right. I cannot say if it is left or right. The hot, cold, hardness and softness, pressure, etc. are all fused together. I know there is a sensation, but cannot say it is this and it is here and point a place. Should I continue with this knowing Bhante or try to understand something definite? That's the end of the report.
Yeah, quite correct. Actually, at the beginning, we have this definite or distinct understanding about various phenomena. We know distinctly, okay, this is hardness, this is softness, this is heaviness, this is lightness. So likewise, we can distinctly recognize. But as we move forward, we actually lose that information. Actually, it's a kind of a radical thing happens. So at the beginning, we don't have much information because our mindfulness is weakened. Clear comprehension is weaker. But once mindfulness is sharpened and clear comprehension improves, so we are able to recognize more and more phenomena. Distinctly, we can know many things. More details are available. But it may not happen in that linear way. Rather, it may reach to some level and then, as you said, it starts to disappear. Very much like merge together. Now everything appears like a flux. You can't recognize whether it is hardness, softness, etc. But we can understand there is something, some kind of a feeling is there, kind of a sensation is there. You can't give a name and you can't even recognize the place, even the time. So all that information is lost. So this is a good sign. This is actually an improvement of the meditation. It is not any kind of a downfall. Rather, this is how it is growing. So at this moment, you don't need to purposely look at the detail, purposely look at the distinct details. Rather, now allow the mind to take over. You simply have to step back. You allow the mind to observe everything in a detached mode. Now you have sort of disengaged observation, detached observation, distant observation. What it has to observe is kind of a sensation. You don't know what it is, but it has some common characteristics. So this sensation has a nature to come and go, has the nature to arise and pass away. So you try to recognize only that. So our meditation becomes more simplified, more refined, and that happens in a sort of more convenient manner. We are in a very relaxed mood and still we are very attentive and recognizing this arising and passing away. So this is how you need to move forward. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. We just received another question related to practice, which is also written in Sinhala. I'll read that one as well. Theruwan Saranai Gauraniya Swamin Vahansa. Karmasthānaya Sakman Bhavanawa. කාලය පැය 1යි විනාඩි 15යි. ස්වාමින් වහන්සේගේ අවවාද අනුව සිඩ්නි ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකේ තවදුරටත් සක්මන් භාවනාව පහුගිය දින දෙකේ තවදුරටත් පුහුණු කළෙමි. මීට පෙර වේගය අඩුවන විට කොටස් වශයෙන් පතුලේ දැනීම ඇතිවෙමින් නැතිවෙමින් දැකගත් නමුත් ඊළඟ දිනේදී ඇතිවීම නොපෙනී ගොස් කොටස් වශයෙන් නැති වී යාම පමණක් පෙනේ. හරියට ලූවර්ඩ් ෂටර් කිහිපයක් වසා දමනවා මෙන් මහත් සැපයක් දැනේ. ශබ්දවලින් බාධාවක් නැත. සිතුවිලි පැමිණ යයි. තව කෙටි කාලයකින් වේගය අඩු විය. නමුත් සාමාන්‍ය ලෙස ඇවිදිනවා මෙන් දැනේ. දැන් පතුලේ කොටස් ප්‍රමාණය අඩුය. කොටස් 2-3ක් පමණක් නැති වී යන ලෙස දැනේ. ටික මොහොතකට පසු මේ කිහිප කොටසද අඩු වී ඔසවන විටම නැති වී යයි. ලාවට කොටස විතරක් ලාවට කොටට විතරක් කොටස ලෙස දැනේ. දැන් සක්මනට පතුලේ බරවත් නොදැනේ. පුළුන් ගොඩක ඇවිදිනවා මෙනි. පුදුමාකාර සැපයක් දැනේ. බොහෝ සක්මන් කළ හැක. පතුලට කිසිම වදයක් නැත. මේ නිසාම හිතද සැපයෙන්ය. සතිය තදින් පිහිටා ඇත. දුර්වලකම් ඇතොත් නිවැරදි කර අවවාද ලබා දෙනු මැනවි. ස්වාමින් වහන්සේට අප්‍රමාණ පිං.
හොඳයි. දිගට කරගෙන යන්න කරනවා හොඳයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මම අර කලින් ප්‍රශ්නෙකට දීපු උත්තරේ වගේමයි. ඒ කියන්නේ මුලදී අපිට මේ විස්තර පේනවා ටික ටික ඒවා බොඳ වෙලා යනවා. ඒවායේ සීමා මරියාදාවල් මැකිලා යනවා. ඒ වෙනුවට මොකද්දෝ දෙයක් තියෙනවා. දෙයක් කියනකට වඩා මොකද්දෝ දැනීමක් තියෙනවා. අන්නේ දැනීමේ ඇතිවීම නැතිවීම ස්වභාවයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේමයි කය හරීම සැහැල්ලුයි. දරතයක් නැහැ, පීඩාවක් නැහැ. අපිට නිකන් බොහොම සැහැල්ලුවෙන් කටයුත්ත කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් මේ දැනීම පහළ වෙන්නේ හරියටම කොතනද කියලාවත් එච්චර අදහසක් නැහැ. ඒ වගේමයි මේක අහවල් එකේ කියලා මේකට නමක් දෙන්නත් බෑ. ඉතින් මොකද්ද දැනීමක් තියෙනවා. මෙන්න මේ දැනීමේ යථා ස්වභාවය. මේ දැනීමට මොකද වෙන්නේ කියන එක තමයි දැන් අපේ අවධානයට ලක් වෙන්නේ. අපි පැත්තකින් කියනවා නම් අපි පටන් ගනිද්දී හිටියේ ඒ අපි හදාගත්ත තනිකර සංකල්පමය රාමුවක් තුල. අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා භවනාව හරහා ඒ අපි හදාගත්ත සංකල්පමය රාමුවෙන් අත මිදලා බොහොම සරල පරමාර්ථ මට්ටමකට නැත්නම් බොහොම යථාර්ථවාදී මට්ටමකට පැමිණෙන්නේ. එතෙන්දී ඔන්න අපේ ආයෙත් අර අපේ බොහොම බේසික් බොහොම මූලික මට්ටමේ ප්‍රාථමික මට්ටමේ දැනීම් මට්ටමකට අපි පැමිණෙනවා. එතනින් නම් තමයි අපි විපස්සනාව නැත්නම් ප්‍රබල විපස්සනාවක් එහෙම නැත්නම් සියුම් විපස්සනාවක් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මෙතෙන්දී හිත කලබල කරගන්න නැතුව අර මගහැරිච්ච විස්තර හොයන්න යන්න නැතුව මොකද උනේ කියලා සැක හිතන්න යන්න නැතුව මේ දැනෙන දේ දිහා කොහොම සැහැල්ලුවෙන් ඒකේ යථා ස්වභාවය දැනගන්නා සුළුව ඒකේ එන යන ස්වභාවය දැනගන්නා සුළුව දිගට කරගෙන යන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ தত্ত্বය තව තව ප්‍රගුණ වෙන්න අවශ්‍යයි. මේ දැනුම නැත්තම් මේ අවබෝධය අපේ හිත තුළ හොඳට පළපදියම් වෙන්න අවශ්‍යයි. ඒක තමයි විපස්සනාවේ භාවිතා බහුලී කතා කියලා බුදුරජාන් වහන්සේ කියන්නේ මේක වඩන්න ඕනේ බහුලීකృత කරන්න ඕනේ. දිගට කරගෙන යන්න.
Next two questions related to the Dhamma sermon. The first one is, I think today I was able to understand that I don't have to completely ignore the past and the future. Thank you for making it so clear. I didn't quite understand the part that I shouldn't stick to the middle, within brackets, present, but to move forward. Could that be explained more? Thank you.
Yeah, so basically the middle is the present, and present also we can grasp. Suppose you are looking at someone, suppose you are a young man and you see a beautiful girl. So this sight is very beautiful, attractive, and your seeing happens in the present moment. So immediately your mind go and grasp, your mind go and attach. So it happens in the present moment. So this is not that Buddha recommends, rather Buddha says here, even though you know the present moment, your mind is not stick to it, your mind is not grasped to it, your mind is not attached to it. So that is the point. So we should know both ends. In this situation, we should know what is past, what is future, and we are not associating those two. We are fairly trying to be in the present moment. We are aware of the present moment, what is happening in the present moment. And at the same time, we are not ignorantly attached to the present moment. We are not stick to the present moment. So that is what we do in Vipassana practice. So we are able to maintain a concentrated mind, free from past and future. And now we are observing the present moment phenomena actually. So this observation is fairly close observation at the beginning, because you can't immediately let go of that, or you can't immediately ignore that. Rather, you need to first observe it very carefully. In order to recognize its many information or its real behavior, you need to understand. For that, you need to observe it very carefully. So that we do some close observation. So ultimately, as a result of the improved insights, understanding, wisdom, so mind will completely let go of this, even the present phenomena. So the mind become completely free. So the mind knows what is the past, what is the future, and again it has not allowed the craving to stitch it or to sew it, but was able to recognize it distinctly and leave them aside, and able to recognize the present moment, and even the present moment is not attached, is able to be free from the present moment and detached from the present moment. So this is what we can say with respect to that answer, which coming as the second answer in this Majjhya Sutta. Yeah, we can go to the next session.
Thank you, Bhante. The last question. Dear Bhante, thank you for the clarification yesterday on how we should train ourselves to have a firm footing on the present and use past and future thoughts to do tasks when necessary. I understood this as having one leg on the present moment and leaning towards past or further to make use of them for survival. This also cleared my doubts on one of the discussions we had in Satipasalam. Sometimes when the reflection reports mention about mind drifting to sounds or thoughts, there were questions asking what is the problem with that. Thero answered if they know they are in thoughts or sounds, that is okay as well. But this was contradicting to our basic instructions of bringing the mind back to the present moment when distracted. I thought Thero's answer was only for specific to some gifted and talented. With your clarification, it is clear that we all can do it after some training. It will be really good if Bhante can reiterate again how one should use past, present or any thoughts for the purpose using the present moment as the anchor. That's the end of the report, Bhante.
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, for the mindfulness, you don't need a single phenomenon. You can, or single object. You can have many objects, but you are able to be mindful. Suppose you are now observing the breath. So it's a kind of a present moment phenomenon, and you are able to observe it. So you can say you are mindful, you are in the present moment. At the same time, now suppose there's a memory comes, popping up. So if you are able to know that as a memory, without being deluded by it, without being completely carried away by that, but you recognize it as a memory. So this is a clear knowing, and even you probably can understand why it has come. It may be due to something closely you has observed, something happened in the near past. It was so vivid and you liked it very much. So likewise, there may be certain reason for that memory to pop up, and even that you can know. But as you said, still you haven't lost the present moment. So one leg is already well established in the present moment. You haven't completely lost the present moment. So we are well established in the present moment, but we know very well now mind is thinking about the past. It is not complete lost thinking, but kind of a controlled thinking, or kind of a under control thinking, we can say. Similarly to the future, suppose you have to plan something, you have to write something, you have to make a project, a proposal, whatever it is. So on these actually have some amount of projection towards the future, but rather than completely absorbed to that, rather than completely lost in that, how about maintaining kind of a balance? You know that right now you are sitting maybe in front of a computer, in front of a book, and you have a pen on your hand, or you are typing using the keyboard, and you know your present orientation. But you are planning something. but at the moment you do the task as planning. So you have this what you call the big picture. You are well established in the present moment. At the same time, your task is to plan something, and this plan of course involves some amount of thinking, but this thinking does not completely take you to the future so that you completely lost the present moment. So that is where we sometimes lose the balance. So actually we have to face all this, and then only we know how to maintain this balance. It is not that easy. I mean, it is easy to say than doing. So even though I am also telling you like this, I also sometimes completely get lost in some kind of a memory. I also sometimes get lost in the kind of a plan. But we should be able to quickly return back, quickly establish mindfulness in the present moment. Time to time we should be able to understand that am I too much or lost in the present, in the future, or lost in the past. So immediately, so you have that sort of an understanding. You have that sensitivity in the mind that you know I have lost the present moment. So as we move forward, so most of the time you have that clarity of the mind, and so immediately you can return back. It may not take minutes to return, and again you may not lost in the past or future for a long time. Only for a short period you might get lost, and you immediately understand it and able to establish in the present moment. Okay, so we have only those two questions, and I think we can wind up the session.
Yes, Bante, I think we completed all the questions. So thank you very much for your guidance and time. I know it's must be a very busy day for you because it's a boy day. So thank you very much, and I hope to join with you for the Dhamma talk.
Yeah, thank you very much. So actually, I'll try to come to 11 a.m. Sri Lanka time for the guided sitting. If I don't appear within 5 minutes, please listen to a recording. And of course, I will definitely participate to 2 p.m. Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for participation.
Yes, thank you. Thero Saranai.
Thero Saranai.